Hi there, Sunny with Synergy, and today we're actually going to go into a little bit of a different blog. So we're going to do a story time, right? So we're going to go over a transaction that we've kind of dealt with for a little while now and explain kind of where the pitfalls were, integrity, things like that go into this business, right? So to start everything off, there's this property that we have. It's a commercial unit. There's a studio. There's a house also, right? And the owners, they're pretty elderly at this point, and they just want to get this thing sold off. So we go ahead and put this property up on the market, and what ends up happening is we get a couple different offers. And sure enough, we get an offer that we do like and we do accept. And so, it starts all good up front, right? And the way that we put this offer into contract, it was based on a specific price. It was based on an as-is purchase. And basically from here, what was going to happen was the investor originally says, okay, well, I'm going to come in and buy this property cash, right? So great, let's do that. So sure enough, they get into contract on another property and now they want to change that. So I'm going to buy this property with financing. Okay, no problem. We'll deal with that, right? So we get into contract and we start going through everything and they hire their inspector. And, really the first red flag comes from when the real estate agent starts emailing and texting and saying, I need XYZ information. And, these pieces of information weren't provided to us as the listing agent, and it's something that that buyer's agent can go and do their due diligence for their buyer, but of course they're not going to do that. They want to push it off to me as the listing agent. So sure enough, we give them a couple answers to their questions and we move forward, and they're still missing some information, but again, go and do your own research, right? So that's step number one. As a buyer's agent, if you work with a buyer's agent, have that agent do research for you. If you have questions, they can always go and do the research, right? They don't have to come and get it from the listing agent. It doesn't have to come from the listing agent. It's not the listing agent's fault, right? So we move forward with this transaction and we get to the end of the contingency period now. So we're supposed to have utilities on, and on my side, I went ahead and I called PG&E, I called the water company, made sure those utilities were on. Home inspector gets scheduled, home inspector gets out to the property, and sure enough, only partial utilities are on, right? So we call and we explain to them, okay, well, I've already called PG&E, I've called the water company, we did our due diligence in that, making sure that the utilities were on for this inspection. Now, I personally have to take fault here because these sellers are older people and they don't really have the mobility to be able to make sure that utilities are on and things are ready for inspection and that kind of thing. And so I took the responsibility of making sure utilities were turned on, which they weren't, and that's my fault, right? And I explained that to the buyer's agent, and sure enough, buyer's agent they're just being oppositional, right? Where you told me the utilities were going to be on and blah, blah, blah. Like, people don't make mistakes, right? And so I explained to them, it is a mistake. And what I did to remedy that mistake was I actually went and I put the utilities in my name personally. Now, tell me how many real estate agents are going to go do that for you, right? So I put all the utilities in my name personally so they could turn all of the utilities on and we can get this inspection done and we can get this thing closed. So sure enough, what happens is, PG&E, they turn on the utilities, everything is good to go. Water company comes on, turns on the front utility, everything is good to go. Turns on the back utility, sure enough, a pipe cracks, and now we have a water leak, right? And so I have them go ahead and turn off that water pipe, so that leak stops. And then I reach out to the seller, let them know, hey, this pipe is cracked. They don't want to take care of it because it's an as-is purchase. So I go ahead and I let the buyer know, okay, pipe's cracked, water's off there. And, even though they know this, they go ahead and they call their home inspector out for a reinspection. Now, What they don't know is I know their home inspector, and he called me prior to the inspection. And I let him know that, hey, this is the scenario. Even when the agent knew this is the scenario, and they still went ahead with that reinspection. So now what happens is they get an incomplete inspection report, and the buyer goes and sends off an email to their agent on 12 points about how I'm such a terrible agent and you were told this and that wasn't true. So what I ended up doing, because now I'm getting frustrated, is I went ahead and I printed out that email. I went through those 12 points and I found each and every single point where I had given the information to the buyer and the buyer's agent, right? And I made a highlight of that and I turned it into my broker. My broker says, well, I don't really see what the problem is here, right? I went ahead and I gave that to the seller. The seller says, well, everything they're saying, you already told them. So I don't see what their problem is here, right?